A first-of-its-kind survey highlights a growing demand for after-school programs in Omaha.
The survey, commissioned by the After School Alliance, just 1/4 of Omaha children who want to go to after-school programs currently are. As demand grows for the programs, numbers reveal Omaha parents trust the programs to keep their kids safe. We spoke with officials for Collective for Youth about the study. They tell us their biggest concern is all the possible ramifications for people not a part of the programs.
You know, those hours of 3 to 6 or even later when they aren't around a caring adult leads great opportunities to try risky behaviors, whether that is use of substances, whether that's participating in criminal behavior, or even just too much time on a device.
The main barriers cited for kids participating in Omaha include cost, transportation, and inconvenient locations.
Your first